That was his mindset. I can't handle it no more. Have you ever been there? I want you to think about it. Have you ever been there? Okay? We see that. But I want to show you something. And I read this the first time that we got into speaking about Elijah. And it went out of the book of James. So I want to come into our lifetime. Our lifetime. And that would be from the 40s to this time. Because I think we had some born in the 40s here to present 2021. And I want to ask you to name some names of men. And I don't want to say religious men. Because when you say religious men, you can talk about anything. But I'm talking about God-sent spiritual men in our life. Can anybody name some? Go ahead, just name it. Somebody. That'd be one on my list. Number one. Yeah. That's another. I was basically coming down to a local level, but y'all done jumped ahead of me. So, what Charles Stanley? Okay. Tony Evans, I got to throw him in there. Now, if we was at another denomination, there would be a lot of different names named, no doubt about it. We're not another denomination. We're New Home Missionary Baptist Church. We believe like we believe. So, we're going to stay right here. Okay, now let's go down to a local level. Just people that we know, because those men we mentioned, I've been where Billy Graham was at one time. Down when he's down Nashville, I got to go see him. All right. Now let's go down to the local level. We done heard some mention with Junior Hip, with the rating coach. I never got that. I think I seen Brother Coach one time when I was a young boy. Of course, I know Mama knew him well, Kent knew him well. Mike Clayton. Me, in my lifetime, one of the mightiest preachers in my lifetime, Mike Clayton. Okay. What all they have in common? Okay. Anybody else? Well, anything else they had in common? There's another man, former pastor of our church. Listen to what I'm saying. What did these men have in common? That's true. There ain't no wrong answer. Okay? Another good answer. What did these men have in common? They were just a man. They were just men. Did y'all catch that? They were just men. Boy, I'm going to tell you something. They had a mighty God, didn't they? You see the difference? They were just men. They suffered. When you go into the book of James, he was a man. And I can't remember but the same passion. He had the same needs we have. He was just like us. But it was his God that made the difference. Our God makes the difference. And he's got down low. The enemies hit him hard. Well, let's go on a little bit further. Because it says serve even when discouraged. Well, I ain't got no trouble to tell you. Is it hard to serve when you're discouraged? Man, it's hard. It's hard, but let's get around something for a minute. Because I don't want to skip. Yeah. So there was some things happen when we skipped, because we're going to skip down to verse 11. But there was something he was under, and then this man was wore out. I mean, the things he done, he was wore out. Remember, God gave him supernatural strength because he outrun the horses. I don't know about you, and this wasn't no little short burst, but this was a long stretch, several miles. How many of you can run that long and then just keep going on? You're going to be tired, ain't you? Men get tired, don't they? Women get tired. And I wasn't saying men to exclude women because these great women. But I'm using these that stand out. He was taught. But something happened. An angel touched him. He said, "You got something here for you to eat." He needed a little nourishment. And he got it. He ate that and we went back to sleep. When he went back to sleep, the angel touched him again. He had something else prepared for him. Had some meat, some water. He said, "You've got a 40-day journey. You've got somewhere you need to go. I want you to keep this in mind. Because he's fixing to go somewhere. Because when the enemy attacks you, you need to go somewhere. And there ain't but one place to go. That's what we're going to see. Now here he is. He's went because he goes to Mount Horeb, which is what? Mount Sinai. What was Mount Sinai? The Mount of God. When the children of Israel came out in the wilderness, where did Moses get the 10 Commandments from? Mount Sinai. That's where it was. When God, the children of Israel looked, you had all this lightning and thunder going. They said, "Oh, Moses, you go on up there and talk to God. We ain't going." They were scared to death. But this was called the Mount of God. So he's there, and he takes this journey. But God, I want you to think about something. This whole time we've seen Elijah's life, who provided for Elijah? God did. Even by the birds of the air, a widow woman that didn't have nothing, God always took care of his people. Keep that in mind. God always takes care of it. And he said, now that we jump down here, he said, "Go forward and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by." Now there was another time the Lord passed by a man too. And Moses. He had put on Moses. He had hide him. Because Moses said, "Hey, I want to see more of your glory, God." Moses had seen, don't you think about what all Moses had seen. But you know what Moses said? He said, "I want to see more." God said, "I'll give you what you can handle, Moses. Nobody can see me and live." But he covered. And we get the books of the first Bible by God passing by Moses. Because he's seen the hind parts. He's seen the past. And he wrote it. He wrote everything out there. But he had to go somewhere, and this is where he took it. And he said, "Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by. And a great and a strong wind rent the mountains. And break in pieces the rocks before the Lord." Now, don't you remember, he says, "Elijah, I want you to come up here. I want you to see something." And the Lord passes by, and he sees this. I mean, what way I take it, it was almost like, a tornado. The wind. And it's just, fortunately, I ain't been in the presence of a tornado. Probably been closer than I knew about, but still. And they tear up Jack. I mean, they tear up, but it does all this. But listen to this. But the Lord was not in the wind. A lot of people are crying out, "God did this great, mighty thing." Now, God works in mighty ways, no doubt about it. But he said, "Lord, he wasn't there." Elijah says, did it almost seem empty? I guess you'd say this is like it's empty. There's nothing there. Okay. And then it goes on, but the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. I'm thankful I ain't never been no earthquake. We've had a tremor here before. Very small. But now, an earthquake, we see what they do. I mean, that's some bad news, an earthquake. But look, the Lord wasn't in that neither. But the Lord wasn't in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. Now, I don't know if this was some kind of supernatural fire or just great lightning strike. I don't know. It just says a fire. But look, it says the Lord was not in the fire. And listen, this is so important. And after the fire, a still small voice. Now look, nothing great. Nothing that screams out. Remember, this man is saying, Lord, just take me on home. Lord, I don't want to go on. I went as far as I can go. He was discouraged. There's times in your life, and it might be from the high top, but the enemy's raging. But this man's discouraged. You know, God knew exactly what that man did. He said, the still small voice. And it was so when Elijah heard it. Don't you see the difference? Because the Lord asked him a question before. He said, Elijah, why are you here? And he said, Lord, because I've done what you told me. I'm going to simplify it. I've been doing exactly what you would have me. Well, when Elijah done what the Lord told him to do, what happened? Victory, right? Every time. But the enemy kept coming. All right? So he was down. But then he hears a still small voice. And it was so when Elijah heard it that he wrapped his face in his mantle. The mantle was a clothing piece that they wore. And he went out and stood in the inner end of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him and said, here's the same question, the same time, the same question asked the second time. What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord. This is the exact same answer he gave before. But there's a difference. And he said, I've been very jealous for the Lord, God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altar, and have slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, don't you pick it, and I, even I only, am left. And they seek my life to take it away. That still small voice penetrated over Elijah. But he had to get back to the Lord. When you get down and out and the enemy's knocking you, I'm talking about desperation, discouragement, you go to the Lord. That's it. Get back. Don't say, it ain't accomplishing nothing. But I'm going to tell you, your life, if you're living for God, it's accomplished more than you'll ever know. These people, don't you think about it. Billy Graham went up to the mountains. You know, he lived in the mountains of North Carolina. I've heard him tell this on different occasions. He went up to the mountains and questioned the very God of the Bible. Billy Graham, that led thousands upon thousands of Christ in faith. He went up and said, Lord, I don't know. But he said, I'm going to leave and walk out in faith, but I'm going to believe that you're who you say. He said, from then on, that was settled. He went on about his business. But he was just a man. But you see, he was discouraged. I've heard Charles Stanley talk about discouragement so many times. But here's something about it. And these other ones. Discouragement comes. But there was something key about that. And it's key for us. We need to get along with God. Don't miss that. He got along with God. And God spoke to him. But now when we get along with God, there's something God don't like. Murmuring and complaining. Because Paul brings out, I believe it's Paul, in everything give thanks. You go to God with thanksgiving. Because here's the thing, and this is hard to comprehend. It's hard to accept sometimes. But those difficult times that we go through, what's it do? It draws us closer to the Lord. It just draws you. You know what the Lord wants? He wants you closer to Him. He wants me closer to Him. Yes, I love walking in the victory. But sometimes when we're in the victory, we get a little further away from God. Now, I'm not saying Elijah done that. But sometimes we'll get away. God says, come on back. Get a little closer to me. Because the enemy is fighting. Man, they couldn't defeat the enemy, right? They won many battles. But I'm going to tell you where the defeat of the enemy took place. And it was Calvary. The ultimate defeat. A lot of times we think the ultimate defeat will be in the book of Revelation. I'm going to tell you the ultimate defeat of the enemy is on Calvary. When Christ laid down his life, now he's telling us to pray. It's all about God and his glory. But you see, Elijah got along with God, and God is communion, one-on-one. We need that in times of discouragement, in times of heartache and trouble. And we don't understand. And he says, listen, he said, God, he said, I'm the only one left. You know what he thought? And I want you to think about this. We do. We try to serve the Lord and we feel like, I'm in this by myself. I'm going to tell you something. You're not in this for yourself. I'm not in this for myself. The preachers that stand behind the pulpit, they're not in it by themselves. God got people all over that are serving him and trying to bring people in. We're not in it by ourselves, because that's what the Lord's going to tell him here. He said, they're out to get me, Lord. I want to show you something else here. I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Who's the one that gives and takes life? That's it. Don't you remember that? There ain't but one. I don't care what the enemy tries to do. You remember, you go back to the book of Job. God said, you can do that, but you ain't going to take his life. They ain't had no power. They're the only ones got the power to say that's it. That's it. So let's go on to the last section. Now, I want you to listen to this. He spoke to him. Elijah just opens up. He pours his heart out to God. Sometimes we need to get along with God, and we just need to pour our heart out to God and say, Lord, I'm thankful that you brought me to this place. I don't understand the circumstances. I don't know why it's happening. Lord, I want to give you thanks. Because that's all I know to do. Just to thank you. With prayer, supplication, and prayer. It don't hurt to tell God, Lord, I'm hurt because of this. And I don't understand it, but I'm going to come and give you thanks anyway. So look, now the Lord says, and the Lord said unto him, go. Did you like it? Elijah's not done. You see this? Elijah's not done. We may think we're done sometimes. We're like, Lord, I want to give up. You're here and you're breathing. You're a child of God. You're to be an influence. We don't understand how all the time. But let's let God use us to influence somebody and point them to Christ. He said, go. Look what he says here. We'll say to him, go, return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. In the foreign land, Syria was a country. They was hard on Israel, but I think Babylon overtook them, Nebuchadnezzar and all them came in, and that happened. But they were a mighty nation. And then he goes on and says, and Jehu, the son of, I can't pronounce his name, listen, shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha, listen to this, and Elisha, the son of Shaphat of, I can't pronounce his name, shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass, listen to this. I want you to go back for a second. Remember, who made the threat to this man? Jezebel. One that brought in this, that led old King Ahab by the nose. And they set up all these worshiping to Baal, these places of worship for Baal. Here's the thing, God's not going to have nothing in his place. I don't care who we are, who we think we are, who America thinks they are. Nobody's going to set up their place in God's place. He's not going to have it. He's the only one who's going to receive glory, because it's his glory. He's not going to share it with some other God. You know why? Because there is no other God. Okay, and it came to pass, and it shall come to pass, that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay. And him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elijah slay. Yet I have listened to this. Remember, he said, I'm the only one left, Lord. And he gives him some comfort. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. Now remember, go back. We're not alone. We may, because now when you get, I don't know about you, but when those times hit, when you get down, you don't see nobody else, do you? It's woe is me. God wants you to know that there's others in the battle. But he's the one that gives the victory. And when you see these names mentioned, and I don't know, I didn't know we had another lesson left, but we'll see. But Elijah wasn't done. He told him to go. And there was a time when one of the kings, not Baal, but Ahab takes the property of Naboth. I think I'm saying it right. Takes his vineyard. Elijah is sent back to the king. I want you to think about this. And I don't know if this is where we go next week. I don't know. So I ain't went there. I may be jumping ahead. But where's he send him to? He sends him right back into the king. Who's there with the king? Old Jezebel. And he tells them something that the ones he just anointed, told him to anoint, will carry it out. You may know what happened to Jezebel. Broke to pieces, and the dogs ate everything. I think wasn't nothing left but the palm of her hands and her skull. You know who told them that? Elijah did. You know who brought it about? The one that God told Elijah, said, "You're not by yourself. You go on and you anoint me." One of the greatest prophets in Israel's history is the one Elijah fixed to anoint. Elijah. But there's something else. He said, they're fixing to take my life. Only two that I can remember in the Old Testament. Two events that points to event we're waiting on. Enoch and Elijah. We see something here that's not talked about much until the New Testament. And that's the rapture. There's going to be a day God's going to say that's enough. Now, we may have to go by the way of death, but it ain't over. It ain't over. God's going to say, come on up. We're going to be called up together. Now, if you die before the rapture, your spirit, everything's going on to be with the Lord. But there's going to be a time that body's going to be reunited. Incorruptible body. We're going to be complete. I'm not saying don't be discouraged, because here's the thing. If I told you don't be discouraged, I'd be giving you false information. But I want to tell you, when you are discouraged, go to the Lord. There's no other place to pick you up and carry you on. You go back to your Lord and your Savior. And you just tell him, say, Lord, I'm hurt. And I don't understand. Lord, I want to give you thanks. You just get up and go on. Because there was a time here, I don't know, if we read on in the story, Elijah sitting up on the mountain, they said, you go get that prophet. You know what he did? called down fire from heaven and killed 50 men that quick. 2 times in a row. The third time, the one come up and said, I'm just about to put it in my own words, I can't remember. He said, I know who you are. But please don't do that to me. Man, they come up there and said, you get down here. He called fire down. Was God done with that man? No. But when he is done, y'all remember the story. He was taken up. I should got to see. That's all I got. But what I want to tell you, and I don't want you to forget. Because like I told you, I want to be a help to you up here. I'm going to tell you something. I need help. Many a time, the enemy will come on me. Boy, it'll come hard. Knock me down. I don't let nobody else see it. I really don't. I'll try to hide it. But inside, I'm struggling. I'm thinking, Lord, I just hard. I want to follow you. I'm going to let us remember. Let's leave that going on for the Lord. Say, Lord, thank you that you give me this opportunity. Let him speak that comfort in your heart. That's all I got. Does anybody got anything? Next week, like I said, we got one more lesson. I think we got one more lesson. So, anybody got anything before we dismiss? Please remember Brother Tim and his family. I know, of course, the funeral's today for his daddy, but Tim goes Tuesday to Midtown, the Old Baptist Hospital. And they're going to get ready for surgery and try to repair his elbow. But remember him. Remember him and Rhonda. Remember the ones, so many that's in our church at Southern, Kenneth and Lucy. Remember the little boy. I know Bobby put it on there. Miss Faye mentioned it. Mama, the little boy where his appendix erupted, and they went like 2 weeks and didn't even realize it. You know, that little fella's in bad shape. And of course, we're light in number. This COVID's running wild. We just don't know. Take care of yourself. That's the only thing I don't do. Is, you know, don't let nobody point a finger at you. If you wear a mask, you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. But remember, a lot of people will criticize you. We got a God in control. But God also gives us some common sense. So let's just trust Him, whatever you do. Let's serve Him. And we can always, I want to end real quick. Don't forget who you go to on a daily basis. And give yourself to Him. That's all I got. Didn't make anything for this minute. Kenneth, you dismiss us.